Are you tired of being an order taker as an instructional designer? Are you looking for ways to level up as an instructional designer and really become a consultant? In today's video, I have the tool that you need to take you from order taker to consultant. Hi friends, my name is Vanessa Alzate, the founder and CEO of Anchored Training, and on this channel, we help instructional designers and learning and development professionals level up, not only in instructional design and learning, but also in their business. And today we're going to talk about the tool called road mapping. And actually at Anchored Training, we call it a blueprint, and it essentially means the same thing. But I just liked using the term blueprint because I like to think of this as like the foundation and that first step to really creating, a learning program or a learning plan and things like that. And I think of, I bought a lot of houses, and I kind of equate my love of flipping homes and things like that with my business. So that's why we called it a blueprint, just trying to be a little bit fun, but essentially the same thing. So what exactly is this roadmap or blueprint? Well, it could definitely mean some different things depending on what it is that you're working on. It could be a learner journey. So maybe you're working on an onboarding program and you're actually creating a roadmap or a blueprint of like, what exactly does their program look like? And, who is the learner, who is the new hire, and what does their whole onboarding plan look like, right? So what do they learn on day 1? What are they doing on day 2, day 5, day 30, 60, 90? 365, all of those things. And it really does help you kind of map out and kind of see a plan and a vision. It could also kind of be a vision board for your course if you really think about it, which I think is actually really cool. But you could also take it from the route of maybe you're launching a new course or maybe you're launching a new platform and you're really kind of mapping out what does that plan to launch it look like, and it's a tool that I have found the more that I've utilized it in my business for my various clients, it really does set the pace and the tone, or really set the stage for what it is that we're going to be doing together, and what does that plan look like. So if you don't really have a plan to, launch a course or to, start a new training program and things like that, it's really hard to understand all of the pieces that you need to take into consideration, right? All of the pieces that maybe you don't think about until it looks at you in the face, So you're creating this course and then you realize, oh wait, what's the platform we're going to be launching this on? Or we're launching this course, but we haven't even thought about, some learners who may need some accessibility considerations and things like that. We've decided to make a video, but video doesn't really work well for people who are visually impaired and things like that. So creating this blueprint or this roadmap really has everyone kind of take a beat, take a pause, really think about all of the pieces that they need in order to launch a really successful course or new program, and really take into consideration what it is that they're doing. And another thing that I really like about the idea of a roadmap or a blueprint, it really does help you take into consideration, like, what are all of the different pieces of the puzzle that need to be part of this program or this launch, including the different departments and the different stakeholders. Because we both know if not everyone is on board with this new program that you're launching, and there's a new course, they have no idea about it. It's you want to get that excitement and that buy-in from the other stakeholders to be able to help your course or your program be successful. So it's really taking consideration those pieces, right, and how they're going to work on it and how they're going to be part of that program and that process. And it just helps put everything out there on paper. So now let's talk about all the different pieces that I put as part of this roadmap process. So let's say we're going to take it from the idea of we're launching a new program for a client, right? A brand new course has a lot of upper level stakeholders that are really excited about it, really bought into the idea of the course. We actually just did one of these blueprints for a client of ours, and it went really well. So some of the things that I included in that roadmap is how many users are affected by taking this program, right? Are we creating a program for 5 users or 500 users? where are these users located? So there is a bit of needs analysis that comes into play with the roadmaps that I've been doing, but I know that some people take this in a different direction, and it's a lot less time intensive in the beginning. So they don't include the learner analysis or the needs analysis up front. They actually include that in their roadmap. So definitely something to think about. But typically for some of these larger scale projects that we've been working on, we do include that learner analysis and that needs analysis, because that way we can take what we've learned, apply it to the blueprint or the roadmap, and then get right into designing and gathering all the information from the stakeholders. But anyway, in our roadmaps, we really talk about, who are the users, where are they located, what type of, technology do they have access to, right? Because if they're in a place that they don't have access to great Wi-Fi, well, then we're going to want to consider whether or not we're going to utilize a lot of video, or, if we have users that are only on iPads, right? They want to be considerate of some of the interactions that we do and things like that, and make sure that they run great on, the course runs great on an iPad and all of those types of things. We also really asked our learners, how do they prefer to learn? And it's not just, through video or through reading or, whatever the learning styles are. It's more of, do you like to have the facilitated discussion? Do you want time for idea sharing? Is this topic something that you think would lend itself well to? And as the instructional designer or the learning professional, you're the expert in the learning, so you can really make some of those determinations about having the facilitated discussions versus not having the facilitated discussion. But what I really liked about, asking the learners is, one, involve them. Why are we making choices for adults without asking them what they want? I think that we need to start giving our adults, or treating them more like adults, right? So make them part of the learning, make them part of the journey, let them know that you're looking at creating a course to solve this problem, and give them the opportunity to be part of that. That will create more motivation, and that will create more buy-in for your course. So I digress on a different tangent, but give this video a thumbs up if you want to talk more about motivating your learners and creating buy-in for your courses. So you really want to talk about, or ask about the type of courses they like to participate in, what has really motivated them in the past to take the course, things like that. If you want to learn more about tips on how to create a learner persona and what questions to be asking when you are learning more about the learners, click the link above to my Developing Learner Persona video, and all the information will be right there for you. One of the other things that we include in our blueprints, besides, who are the learners, is we actually kind of map out what will the course look like, and some ideas for it. That may or may not be exactly what the course looks like in the end. We may have to change things as we start gathering, all of the content from this means. But when we do blueprinting or road mapping, I do gather some of their content. I do not a super in-depth knowledge transfer, but I do a knowledge transfer. I learn more from the stakeholders as to why they want to have this course, why this program is important to them. And I want to make sure that all of that type of information is captured in my roadmap or my blueprint for them, and that kind of like nice summarized document. So we kind of map out what will the course look like? What platform would we be using? If we're doing facilitated discussions, what does that look like? Who would be the facilitators? How are they going to get trained? Just really thinking through, what does the whole process look like? If we're doing instructor-led training, or still the pandemic, so virtual instructor-led training, how many students are in the class max, and for how long, all of those types of things. And it's something that helps to, if you think about the roadmap, it's that guide, and it starts to really get everyone on the same page of what it is that we're trying to build and what it is that we're trying to create. Another thing that we really love to include are some recommendations for learning activities. Often people don't really know what exactly it is that they're going to get when they buy into a course and things like that. So including some recommended learning activities that you would be including, scenarios, branching scenarios, storytelling, all of those different things, drag and drop scenarios, all of those types of interactivities, and how you'd be using them. It's a really nice way to kind kind of wrap up the course plan and kind of what does that learning plan look like for this content or for this program, so that your client sees that you're not just thinking about, how to launch a course, how to market it, that you need the course and kind of just some peripheral, like not that it's not important, but like very basic level details, like how long the course should be, the platform it should be on. It's really thinking about the learning activities and what's going to help the learners retain the knowledge. And if you've done a really great learner analysis and the needs analysis, you'll know some of those activities that need to be involved, and you'll have the data to support it from that learner persona survey, and you'll be able to really create a roadmap with learning activities that are supported by the data. Another thing that is really nice to include in your roadmaps are things like what should, the pre-training, or prerequisites be? What will post-training follow-up be like? So thinking about that learner journey, right? So they come to your training, maybe they have, a workshop 3 weeks later, but then, after those 3 weeks, after the program is up, where do they go for follow-up support? So do we have to have quick reference cards created? Do we have to have job aids also created to supplement the learning? So really thinking about those types of touch points as well is really helpful. And you could map it out like on a journey or on a process map for your client. Another thing that you'll want to include in the roadmap is the assessment piece, right? So how are you going to be assessing that the learners learn the content and they're retaining it and they're putting the content that you are teaching them to use day in and day out? You know what I mean? Really thinking about what does that assessment look like? What is the measure of success, and how are we measuring that? And when are we going to be doing it? Because we all know that, you can quiz someone 75 seconds after they completed a training. Is that really going to help them, 24, 48 hours later, a week later, a month later, when they're actually putting what you've taught them to use? So really thinking about how you are assessing them and assessing really the program and evaluating the program. So those types of assessments and evaluations and how you're going to be doing that, really important to include in that roadmap. Because remember, it's not just, your roadmap doesn't end when the training launches. Your roadmap kind of continues on post-training as well. You'll want to include a timetable. What does a timeline for a program like this look like? Because you're the expert. You know how long things are going to take in order to create. So included a time frame for completion, or how long a program like this would take to execute, really is incredibly helpful. And it's something that will help your client understand the time and dedication that they need to take in order to, put this plan to use and put this plan into action. So I want you to really think about the time frame that would need to be dedicated to the program in order for it to be created. So what is it that you're looking at, right? And then something else that you'll want to include is a list of all the stakeholders and everyone that needs to be part of this program in some way, shape, or form, and how that will work, right? I want you to also include, who it is that is going to be involved in that training, right? So everyone, from if human resources needs to be involved, the team's manager, IT, right? So if you're launching a program and you need to get IT involved because they're the ones that need to, upload a new or release an extension on people's, Chrome web browser in order to launch this new program, then they need to be involved. If you're launching a learning management system, IT should be involved in some way, shape, or form. They shouldn't be the only ones involved, of course, but they need to be involved in that. So really writing down and thinking about who needs to at least be aware and what is that level of involvement in this plan, so everyone knows that at some point you need to pull them in, and when and how they're going to be pulled in, and what it is that you're going to be looking from them in order to create this plan or this or launch this new program. For some of my roadmaps, depending on what it is that we're recommending, but if we are recommending some sort of online training or e-learning, then I'm putting together a list of platforms that I recommend in order to launch the program. And this is usually for clients that don't have a learning management system or a platform that they could be utilizing. So I give them a list of all the different platforms that are out there and available to launch this type of program. So, you'd want to make sure that they're looking at platforms, that could host, if I'm recommending, a storyline module, I'm looking for platforms to recommend to them that can support storyline modules and SCORM packages and things like that, and giving them the pros and the cons and my feedback and what I've seen utilizing each of those tools. So definitely want to make sure that you're including a list of recommendations on platforms if you are creating something that is related to an online module of some sort. You'll want to make a list of some considerations. So what are some things that they need to be looking at? So what are some things that could halt the program or could delay the program from launching, right? Just giving your analysis and your recommendations as a consultant of some things that they should be thinking about when they're going to launch this program. And you'll also want to give them some ideas for how to gain that buy-in, right? How, just some tips and tricks in order to get everybody on board and excited about the program, and how to make it exciting and market it well to the learners, really thinking about the program outside of just the learning, but helping to get that buy-in from the actual learners as well, and how to motivate them. And I think that by including a place where you can just be professional, open, honest, candid, and take that moment to look like the learning expert and really just share your experiences and some things that you've thought about that they may, some challenges they may run up against. That could be a really powerful place to really solidify yourself as a learning expert and a learning and development partner for your clients. So this is, again, going beyond we need a training program on, cybersecurity. This is, we're coming to you to really help us solve this problem. We're having an issue with cybersecurity and compliance. We're doing X, Y, and Z in order to solve it, but we also want to supplement with additional educational opportunities, and we want you to help map that for us. And including in that space, after your plan, like, these are the things I want you to think about. These are the things I want you to leave with, as you close up this blueprint or this roadmap and close up this report, and really think about launching it and some things that may come up for you. And these are how you can solve those problems. I look at a roadmap or a blueprint as a separate service. It stands on its own. It's its own product. I do not go into road mapping or blueprinting with the idea of they're going to hire me to execute this plan. They may, and frankly, they usually do, but they don't have to. And that's a really powerful place to be in as a consultant, where I'm going to provide you this service. You're paying me for my expertise. You're paying me to learn more about your organizations, your learners, and your program that you're trying to launch. But I'm not expecting or relying on the fact that you are going to hire me to execute this entire program. And it helps to make sure that I'm level on like the expectations I have of the interaction with my client. But it also really, it makes your clients feel like you're being more transparent and honest and open. And I really am. I tell them when I provide this, blueprint, I say, listen, you can take this blueprint, you can now execute based on what I've provided. You now have some considerations that you have to make. This is your checklist at the very end of things that you want to think about in order to execute this program. But here is my recommendations. Now, I'll be happy to provide you with a quote for executing a piece of it, all of it, whatever y'all need. But just so you know, these are my recommendations, and you are free to now do with it what you would please. Hire someone else, take it internal, have someone internal, execute my plan. That's up to you. And that is, I've provided my service and I've done my part, right? you'll see a difference in the types of engagements that you end up working on when you start to execute these blueprints and these road mapping sessions. And so I really want you to think about trying this, including it as a service, including it as a product that you offer. And it is something that you can start small with. It does sound like a lot. I put a lot into it. And for some people, it's not, they put less into it because they take a different approach to it, which is fine. I just find the value of this booklet I provide at the end to really help my customers, and has developed a loyalty in my clients that I hadn't seen before I started executing blueprinting. And that's why for some of my clients, we don't kick off unless we include blueprinting, because I want to make sure that the solution that we're offering you, you're aware of what it's going to entail, and we really want to make sure that it is going to be something that is productive and successful for you in the end. So really want to think about that. How do you do that as an instructional designer that's just starting out? How can you start off, road mapping and blueprinting without really having experience in it? Well, make sure you check out the Vanessa Ingrid Instagram account. I will be posting a reel to complement this session today, or this video today, and I will give you some tips on how you can start road mapping and blueprinting without ever having any experience in it. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.